This is the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast, session number 394. Build your list, build your list, build your list.
Welcome to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast with Jason Linett, your professional resource for hypnosis training and outstanding business success. Here's your host, Jason Linett.
Oh, it's the podcast episode title that's so important, we named it the same thing 3 times over. Again, build your list, build your list, build your list. This week, it's a solo episode sharing with you a bit of a behind the scenes of some of the strategies that I've personally used myself of the growth of my business, not just the training side of things, but even especially the client side of things. And one of the bigger mindsets that often comes out of the info marketing world, that the money is in the list. So keep listening because I'm about to walk you through exactly how to break out of a seasonal slump, how to continuously scale your business, and how to suddenly introduce new opportunities and new offers in such a way that takes the guesswork out of bringing the right hypnosis clients into your hypnosis business. For more like this, head over to hypnoticbusinesssystems.com, which is the all-access pass to my hypnosis business training library. It's the entire story from the ground up of how I opened up my hypnosis practice and scaled it to 6 figures a year just on the client side of things. Be very cautious when you see people in our industry talking about earnings figures. I would be very open and tell you that yes, seeing clients is a portion of what I do. And I'm very transparent about that. I clearly have the Work Smart Hypnosis training company on top of the client work that I do. And then there's the other business, which is actually a separate business entity called Attract Pre-Sold Clients, which does go out to a much larger audience. And it wasn't quite built to be the sort of higher level, done with you kind of consulting for the hypno crowd. A lot of my hypno peeps have followed over, yet it's something that also serves a much wider audience, which is why it has a different business name and even different business structure. So I share that because when you see others posting earnings figures, oh, I earned this much in this year, be aware as to whether or not they're actually telling you what portion is the part that aligns with your specific goals. Yes, scale over time. Which brings us back to Hypnotic Business Systems, which is where I've documented and chronicled exactly what works to consistently bring high-value hypnosis clients into your business. The program used to be tell you what to do, then it morphed into show you how to do it, and nowadays it's a here's my stuff, use it to get up and running even faster, and even better, make it your own. So there's more than 24 individual business action plans, some of which include done-for-you marketing campaigns you have full permission to reproduce and make your own. Guessing sucks. Model what works. Get there faster and easier. That's hypnoticbusinesssystems.com. And with that, let's dive into this week's episode. Here we go, session number 394. The title's so nice, we named it thrice. Build your list, build your list, build your list. I'm now realizing this should have been titled Make It Rain, Make It Rain, Make It Rain, even though this is coming out in early December, perhaps let it snow, but I now live in Florida, and it doesn't tend to snow where I am these days. Man, it's hard. Shoveling sunshine. Anyway, so let me give a crash course on what I mean by list building. The simple version of this is, any opportunity you have, collect people's information. What opportunities, Jason? Any. What about this? Yes. What about that? Yes, that one too. Really, it becomes a wherever you possibly can, gather information. If I was giving a talk back in the time of doing the dry chicken luncheon Rotary circuit, talking about hypnosis to the Rotarians, I would pass something around. Hey, I just did this demo, and if it would be helpful to be able to do something like that on your own in 10 minutes or less, I have this free audio. I have this audio that I sell on my website, and I'd love to give it to all of you as a gift. So thank you for having me here. I'll pass this around. I'm going to, send out that audio. And yes, it will also send you some other stuff that I'm sure you'll love, and you can unsubscribe anytime. And the more I spoke, the more that I got out into the community, it was always about creating opportunities to gather information and get them onto a list. Now, quick little technical nuance here. You want to do this with some sort of email autoresponder. And I'll make the technology very easy here. If you've heard of a company that does email automation, they've made enough people happy, they're probably okay to use. All of them. If it's like the AppSumo thing and it's one that just popped up this week and it's lifetime access for $14, maybe turn and run from that one. I tend to like companies that we can find there's a history to them. So I'll rattle off some names. There's Aweber, there's MailChimp, there's, I'm a little cautious with Constant Contact only because the stuff that they kind of train you to use with their system looks like newsletters. And newsletters scream, when they're wonderfully designed, it screams, I'm trying to sell you something. I like emails that look like emails. So Constant Contact is okay to use. Just, make your emails look like emails. For full disclosure, on the hypnosis training and hypnosis client services side of my world, we use what was called Infusionsoft. It's now called Keep, K-E-A-P. I will openly say, and someone passed this along to them, we're having some issues with email deliverability, and I'm not comfortable recommending them right now. On the attract pre-sold client side of my world, we're using a massive automation system called HubSpot, which is a bit of a beast. It requires a really strong learning curve, yet some of you are in a more scalable places in your world, and that's what I use for that. There's also, I said Aweber. There's also GetResponse is a cool one. Just Google it. There's a bunch of good options. They offer free trials very often too. But basically, you don't want to be doing this one by one. This is where if you have the skill to do the equivalent of logging into Gmail and sending an email, you can operate most of these systems because two things. One, people absolutely need to give you permission to send them stuff. It's kind of a law. And two, there needs to be a mechanism to unsubscribe without further being pummeled away with other stuff. I'll just take a quick little soapbox here to point out there actually is only one definition of spam, and it is unsolicited bulk email. Instead, what I'm talking about is always intent-based. So notice that I started this off by talking about list building from speaking at a group, which meant back in the day, I was the guy going back home and typing those names and email addresses into my system, and then they were there. Nowadays, as you grow the business, it might be the task for a virtual assistant. It might be the important job that becomes privately labeled as child labor. As my kids are getting older, they're about to get some jobs. Or, outsource it however you see fit. I wanted to start this off by talking about the examples that are non-technical, even though you do want software doing this. If someone called me, the conversation was, if they were not yet ready to book, hey, it sounds like you've got some further questions, and I've got a video that I think will help to explain further what this is and how it works. What's a good email address I can send that to? Cool. Is it okay if I send you some further stuff to educate you on the process and help you to make the best decision for yourself? Cool. I've got permission. I could bring them into my world now. And side note to this, if someone unsubscribes, it means either two things. One, you weren't delivering valuable content. If you were simply the person going, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, then we all turn away from that. If instead, so that's option one. Option two is not everybody unsubscribes for the same reasons. It might be they reached out to you because there was a very specific goal, and by whatever means, they resolved it. I'd give the example of the business that my parents used to run in Virginia. They're now here in Florida with us, yet they were wedding photographers. And theoretically, it kind of makes sense. Once they're married, they might not need your services again as wedding photographers. Then again, in the active 55 plus community they now live in, there's someone there as a neighbor. It's a big community, but there's someone there who, my parents, shot her wedding all 3 times. There's some paraphrase quote somewhere around how, couldn't find the right man, at least I found the right photographers. And for that audience, that is one of their best testimonials. So I bring this up because do not take it personally. That happens far too often. And I will without going off too much of a tangent on what you send out, will tell you that the quality of the life that I live, the quality of the business that I run, is directly proportionate to the frequency of what I send out. However, as you put more out there, you will also get more unsubscribes. The goal is, of course, bringing more people in, but there's always going to be an unsubscribe no matter what you do. Don't take it personally. So build your list, build your list, build your list. The conversation that I've had way too many times is here's the person who it suddenly clicks and you realize I've got this new thing I want to promote and I've got no one to promote it to. So let me say this right now for all of you. Start building your mailing list, even if you don't yet have a thing to sell. You give a talk locally to a business group or some PTA group, whatever it might be, gather information, give them something of value. And as much as I have been quoted over the years, so I'm saying, quote, nobody wants your damn newsletter. What I mean by that is not necessarily, oh, I'm doing this because it's Thursday. And then again, I am the guy who's put out a podcast nearly every single week for 8 years on Thursdays. But it's more that here's a specific thing I wish to share with you. It's not, okay, it's Thursday, it's newsletter time, here's what I thought of to share with you. No, lead with value. That's what I mean by no one wants your damn newsletter. Instead, give them something that's going to be what's in it for them. But again, start to gather information, start to build some kind of momentum. And I'll tell you the best social media, email automation, marketing channel advice that I know is document, don't create. Talk about what you're currently doing. Talk about the types of issues you're currently helping people with. And people are smart. They'll know that, yes, you have a business. And the beautiful thing is there's something covert about the strategy. You don't always have to give a call to action. You don't always have to say, click here to book your appointment. Click here to schedule time with me. Call this phone number. I mean, you should, because as they find value, give them the next step. Yet to even have some content in there that is satisfying a very specific point, even if it is just to tell a story and illustrate someone's win. And personal nuance here, make it more about what they achieved. And that's going to serve you better. If it's instead, this was my client and look what I did for them, you've painted butthead on your face. And I don't think that way about you, and you shouldn't either. So again, start to gather information and then start to put it into use. We're conditioning a relationship here. Because the other nuance to this is, and this is the one part I will get slightly technical, all of these email autoresponder systems, all of these advanced, what they call CRM systems, which is what Infusionsoft or HubSpot is, but even if you're using one that only satisfies the point of being email, all of them have a mechanism to tag people in specific ways. And I'd give you the example of I had a tag, or I still have it actually, in my system. I don't delete stuff because you don't have to these days, but I have a tag which is all contacts. Who's in that? All contacts. I also have a tag though for, let me put this in a context for all of you that you all can understand a little faster. Let me talk about the HypnoThoughts Live Convention. Everyone who has ever interacted with me, shared an email address with me, they're all in a general tag that say HypnoThoughts Live attendees. I also, though, created other tags for HypnoThoughts 2014, 2015, 2016. So as an example, if I'm ever promoting a post-conference that I'm doing at that event, I have immediate access to the people that I already know are likely going to go to HypnoThoughts. All of you should go. It's an awesome, awesome event, yet I have that specific data. Let's bring this into a client context, though, which is that people who I met at networking events. But also, I had other tags. And all of these systems, when someone fills out this form, you could have it automatically apply multiple tags. This is one of those things that you want to do this sooner than later, because the real story of my growth over the years has always been the mechanism of who has this tag but doesn't yet have that tag. Send a broadcast. Who has this tag but doesn't have that tag? Who has all of these tags but not this one specifically? And because of that, it's the story, If you're familiar with my entry point into virtual gastric band, I attended that with Sheila Granger. It was hosted up in Long Island in New York. She taught it along with Mark Carlin. It was hosted by Carol Denneker up in New York. And the story goes, from the Saturday night of the training into the Sunday morning, I had made enough income promoting that I was now doing virtual gastric band to completely cover the cost of my registration, pay for my flight, and my hotel. Why? Because I emailed everybody who was in my all contacts list for Virginia Hypnosis who did not have a tag for previous client. Who has this but doesn't have that? Broadcast. Even better, if you dial in some of the systems I share inside of Hypnotic Business Systems, specifically around the mindset of campaigning rather than marketing, you can hit them with the message a couple of times. But this sort of segregation game of who has this but not has that is exactly, I would say, one of the core elements as to everything that I've done. And the classic quote is now, when is the best time to plant a tree? Well, it's either right now or 30 years ago. The best time to start to organize your world is right now. And this is one of those things that whenever you're about to do something new, ask yourself, how can I organize people like this in a very specific way? So this way, as I send out some form of communication moving forward, I can pull out the people who don't need to see it. I can include the people who do need to see it. Again, let me stress, do this with software, do this with permission-based intent. There was a scandal in our industry a few years ago where people were scraping email addresses off of websites and broadcasting messages without unsubscribe options. That right there, again, is the one and only definition of spam. Don't do that. Instead, let people know, I'm going to send you stuff. Let people know if it's no longer a match, you can unsubscribe. Yet the key thing is here is starting as soon as you can, building that list, putting offers out there. I would say, if I can nerd out on tech here a little bit further, as much as you can, the different pages of your website have some kind of an opt-in offer. Maybe there's a free ebook on a page about, let's say, sleep improvement. There's a free ebook about how to hypnotically enhance the classic sleep hygiene strategies. And it might just be an ebook that really can only be a couple of pages. I have an ebook in my other business, which is only 8 pages, and it's one of the best drivers of our new clientele. It might be a checklist. Figure out a thing, some sort of resource, something you can share, and the exchanges, they are purchasing it by opting in to communication, giving you an email address, giving you permission to make further contact. The best you can do this everywhere is going to get you up and running even sooner. Those of you inside of Hypnotic Business Systems, the big driver of my Stop Smoking clients for many years was this email sequence all about the 7 steps to successful smoking cessation. And yes, I could not find more places to put the S sound in that title. And the principle of this is what's called give the hard offer and the soft offer. The hard offer, call up now, book with me to quit smoking. Soft offer, get this free report on the 7 steps to quit smoking successfully, which actually triggered a timely 10 email sequence, which was all designed to provide even more value, further educate, further elevate the internal story as to why they need to quit smoking. And then we had the automations figured out so that as soon as they booked with me, they stopped getting the emails. That's something that is important to me. Those of you in Hypnotic Business Systems, you have that email sequence and you have permission to make that your own and slap your name on it. Though I'd be amiss by not calling out that over the years, we've had people take that 10 email system and make it their own, of course. One person did it all about weight loss hypnosis. One person did it specifically to working with athletes. One person did it about dream exploration workshops. I give you that as a model. You can use it, but then again, you can make it your own and apply it to other things along the way. So this is what's possible, where this is the real secret why there was never any seasonality to my client business. I would specifically at times even broadcast something to previous clients in the time frame between Thanksgiving and New Year's. A lot of my clients were in the ages of like 45 to 60, which likely meant they had adult children who were going through college, which are not quite children. And I would send out things talking about test anxiety, and I would soon begin to see the children of my previous clients during the spot where other people in our industries would say, well, it's slow. They've already tapped out their money on cash, and they're not going to come see you that week, so just take it off. And that would be one of the most profitable times in my business, which only could occur because I had the ability to make contact with people. I created a mechanism to remain important, top of mind, and continue to tell the story as to how great this work is. So this is really this week a little bit more on a call to action to say, start. And if you've already started, keep it up. And if you've already keeping it up, well, then do it more, because this right here is one of the most important aspects of your continued growth in your business. And I'd tell a quick story from more so the attract pre-sold clients side of my world, which is we had someone who, reached out to the team that works with me on that company, and they said, well, I see what Jason does, and I really see the benefit of it, and I should do it. Yet I see you're kind of teaching some social media strategies, and I don't want to have a business where if suddenly Mark Zuckerberg changes his opinions, my business disappears. Well, guess what? I have most everyone's email addresses who even join my Facebook groups. I have the phone numbers of most people who have opted into my forms online. And yes, it's 2022 as I'm recording this episode, and I think it was March this year that Facebook just went down for a day. And it came back, but then again, I'm recording this right now while there's some rather interesting things happening in the world of Twitter right now. We'll leave it at that. And at any point in this journey, I'm always looking to elevate people's experiences, but also gather their information so I can communicate with them in a way that doesn't have me dependent upon someone else's technology. So have that in mind. The number one goal of social media is to engage with people on social media so that you can eventually engage with them off of social media. So again, let me hit it one more time. Build your list, build your list, build your list. Hey, it's Jason, and thanks so much for joining me once again here. I know that so many of you are fascinated with the methods of hypnosis, how we help people to produce change. And remember, it's called a hypnosis business, because without the clients, what good are the techniques? Which is why I built the world that is hypnoticbusinesssystems.com. That's the all-access pass to my hypnosis business training library. Everything from search engine optimization to email automation, as you've heard me talking about this week, to product creation, product design. How do we completely pivot our world as a hypnotist so we're only ever selling to people who have already crossed the threshold and become paying clients? That's what I call the VIP strategy session. And social media strategies, and again, it used to be tell you what to do. It morphed into show you how to do it. And nowadays, the benefit for you that I migrated my services 100% online and closed down the local business as I moved 1,000 miles away from Northern Virginia is that we've now published in there marketing campaigns you have permission to reproduce right away. Remember the thing I said earlier about, hey, here's this audio that we used to sell on the website. Can I give it to you all for free? You get the license rights to reproduce that audio program as perhaps your very first hypnotic product to then possibly sell, use as a resource. But the product creation suite is where people really find the scalability of their hypnosis business. So option one, you can go the route that I did and make all the mistakes, spend the money on the wrong things, and try to guess. There's the reality, though, that when you have a guide, you get there faster and easier, and you get to not make the same stupid mistakes that I did. That's why I built hypnoticbusinesssystems.com. Head over there right now, watch the video tour, join us today. We'll see you inside.
Thanks for listening to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast at WorkSmartHypnosis.com.